Welcome to Loremaster Arcanum, episode 56 here on Blue Box, entitled Roleplay Tips for DMs and Players. We are in the pre-roll set here, so you will not see us, but you can hear us. I am joined, and I'll mention this again, by, as always, the lovely, talented, and imminently capable Evelyn, and then the more recently upstart impudent Thomas.
Still just as capable.
Still just as capable, yes, but still impudent.
Oh no, that feels kind of mean.
Oh, in a good way though. It's like it's a friendly way. I'm sorry. I think it's just going back to that spell casting episode we did where you were really coming at me pretty hard, and I loved it actually. But
I always come at you hard.
Hello, Amanda. Thank you for the host, Jay, as always. Hello, Patrick, my good friend. Tom, hello. Hey, giveaways are going out today. I know some of you were behind, Fraley, Tom, all of you guys, like you had some giveaways. Oh, you too. Adam Jr. 79, your giveaway went out today. Good to see you. Robert, you too. Everybody that's popping, y'all had giveaways going out finally, because I was behind by like 3 weeks. So I appreciate your patience, my friends. Hello, William. Good to see you, Lord Forth.
I just had my stream unmuted for half a second, and I'm only like 2 seconds behind you. It's kind of weird.
That's a nice latency there.
It's almost like I live down the road from you.
I like that.
I'm just picking up what you're sending out halfway. I'll yank that.
That makes me happy. Okay, just Junior, you got it. Or JR, just JR. Just JR or Junior? What do you mean?
Nah, it's
JR?
probably JR if you
Adam
capitalize.
JR?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. JR, got it.
JR.
I will never make that mistake again. Oh, really? Thomas, stop flexing your youth on us, dude.
What?
Really?
What?
That's what
You
your
have
dad
a
goes
father.
by? Stop it.
I have a father.
Stop it.
I don't
Everyone,
confuse
no matter what
myself.
age they are, has a father.
No.
You don't lose your father when you gain a certain age.
No, actually,
This
I
guy.
did. I did. So
You need my hand?
Aw,
You good?
moving right along.
Okay.
make it really sad.
Yeah, we'll kick off here in just a minute. Hey, Toriano, good to see you, sir. We're just gonna have a quick 1 hour chat tonight, or slightly less than an hour chat. Hope all can join us and have a good time.
Trying to pull up a bunch of like example documents just in case you call on me for random stuff.
You know I will.
Oh, I know you will.
And actually, so you know what? Let me kick off the. Do you want to have the ninja up so I can share your screen?
No, these are more just reference things for me to
Okay,
talk
all right.
about. Although I guess that I could ninja my
What's up?
my spell page that I use for Alcott, but that's like if we're gonna be talking about RP, it's like a lot more than just spells.
Yeah, let's say that for a reduct part 2.
Yeah.
Thanks, JR. Ancient Gamer Patrick. No. So Toriano, your Tailspire town. I'm sorry it's kicking your butt, but once it's done, or even halfway done, it's gonna appear on a stream here on Blue Box. I cannot wait. I had so much fun popping in your stream the other day. I will be right back, freshen up this coffee, and we'll kick off live video in 3 minutes.
Woo. I'll be right back too. Hello.
Hello! Welcome back
Hello.
to the Zoom chat.
To the live streaming.
It's the streaming of the liveness.
Yeah, it's Dominic Domenico.
Mm-hmm.
Back at it again. Yeah.
Oh, Dominic. I tried to make a meme out of Dominic, but I couldn't find a turtle chef fast enough. So.
I'm gonna. Did you really? Was it that difficult to find a good
Well,
turtle
there were
chef?
a couple of them, but there weren't any good ones
Modern
that I felt like
ones?
were yeah.
You just look up turtle chef. Oh, this is a good character. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
All right. If you're ready, you can never turn back. This is your final chance to hit the eject button and escape from what you are about to experience here. Blue Box.
John, that reminds me. I need to play you
Esther, come back over
the
here.
thing that Pat Draws made for our Monster of the Week sessions. that
Oh,
we've been
yes, I
doing.
want to see it. Well, again, Ninja, but if we can tonight.
No, it's not a visual thing. It's actually an audio thing. I'll play it for you after this.
All right, sounds good. Here we go. Welcome again to Blue Box, and a little bit of an injection of joy into your week with Blue Boxian dystopian craziness here. We had a good time last night with Greyhawk Awakening. Well, some did. Some had a questionable time. Some had an hallucinatory time. So there is, I think, a lot to still be seen with what happens. Oh, and Thomas, who is Alcott Devereaux, has correctly diagnosed it will be 3 weeks before we see what happens with the Kraken. What happens with the Kraken? And this guy still sits on the table. And that will come up here very soon. I will be traveling this weekend. We'll talk more about the schedule here for Blue Box soon. But as always, I am joined by the lovely, talented, and eminently capable Evelyn. I said lovely. She was already waving. She knew. Thomas. She knew it wasn't you. So sorry. And then Thomas, also Alcott Devereaux, wizard extraordinaire, and DM of Monster of the Week, which is happening here quite regularly now on Blue Box, much to my delight. And tonight we're going to talk about roleplay, and I've got some cool stuff to show you, but thank you to both. And let's start with you, Thomas. Tell us about all you're doing, anything you want us to know about your socials, your other stuff that you're working on, and then we'll go to you, Evelyn. You can do the same. Thomas.
Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas. Like John mentioned, I have been pretty much, it depends on the day, but every week streaming Monster of the Week sessions here on Blue Box. They have been incredibly fun. We have consistently had Evelyn and Pat Draws on every single stream thus far, along with a bevy of other people, including John himself in one of our sessions. My personal socials have been dead quiet for the past couple of months, just trying to chill and get into my new job position, and hopefully after the new year I'll be getting back on track with posting things. But if you do care to look at really cool things, DM tips and otherwise, go check out Tabletop Adventures Murfreesboro, soon to be rebranded in the year 2022. And yeah, I mean, that's me.
And so a teaser rebranded to what?
To we shall see. I'm still deciding because Instagram handles are hard to snatch.
Yeah, they are.
But we shall see. Tabletop something. That's for sure.
Tabletop Blue Box Thomas Rocks. oh, Tabletop Blue Box Thomas Rocks. I like it. That's
Yep,
good.
that'll be
All
the subtitle.
Back to you, Evelyn.
Hi everyone, I am Evelyn. I'm known as D or Evie all across the interwebs, but primarily you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, and here on Twitch on BlueBoxRPG regularly, and I can also be found over on Monday nights on Machiki D's channel. I play in a Pathfinder 2E campaign over there as a sorcerer. It's called Extinction Curse, and it's really fun. And we've done about I think 10 sessions now. It's been a little off and on with people's schedules, but it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, so come check us out Monday nights.
I love it. And Evelyn, thank you again for all you do. And people see the stuff on the outside, but they don't know how much you do on the inside. You help so many things here at Blue Box, and BlueBoxCon 2022 is coming very, very soon. We're excited about that. Now, Evelyn, you mentioned Maciek ED. Can I make my joke about that, or should I just let it go?
Let's let it go this time.
Let it go. All right. Tonight, we're talking about role play. We have only about 45 minutes with this talented cast. And I have Dragon Magazine 188 pulled up. I've shown this Dragon Mag before. You know, here on Loremaster's Arcanum, I like to pull from the antiquities, the things from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the old school content. But the real point I want to drive home tonight is what role play means and how you can draw it out of both players and DMs. Now, let me go to you, Thomas, because Monsters of the Week, I think, has been different. And what I mean by that is traditional D&D is heavily DM focused, or gamekeeper, game master, lore keeper, whatever you want to call it, really telling the narrative. That's how I grew up. Now, I have started to move to more collaborative storytelling. You've seen me implement some of these techniques we'll talk about tonight as well. But Monster of the Week seems really focused on a more collaborative storytelling style. So tell us about that, Thomas.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that, I grew up. John has pointed out multiple times just how young I am. But I did grow up in D&D as my home TTRPG.
No, I didn't really think young. It was more like wet behind the ears and immature.
A knave. I follow a number of podcasts and other shows that play other games as well, and one of those introduced me to Monster of the Week, which is a fantastic setting, or not just setting, game system that puts more of the role-playing onus on the players, in that there's only like 1 or 2 rules for how the game is played. And the dice system is really simple. Instead of a specific number you're going to shoot for, you're looking for sort of a bank of numbers to try and hit. And the DM only has 3 margins of success. It's failure, mixed success, and complete success. And within that realm, they work with the players to determine exactly what occurred, and it's mostly based on the player's input on, like, here's what I was doing, yada yada yada, you tell me, and we work together to create the story, which is like really, really interesting because it makes everything more vague so that the players can take that and make it specific. All right. Which
so
is
Tom,
really cool.
Wait, stop. Stream is over. We're dead. We're done.
Great.
I have had a term applied to me, which to me always felt like Luddite, incomprehensibly, and I've just been called a grognard by my own right hand. I need to go upstairs, slit my wrists. Please all say a eulogy for me.
Oh God, no, bring it down.
Thank you, Patrick, for the sub. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Thomas. But let me so keep going on the train of thought you were on. But let's talk about D&D again, because D&D is Blue Box's core, and I do like Monster of the Week because it's got the D&D hints that are kind of woven through it.
And that's from my specific story that I've created. That's not based in the game.
It's not?
Monster of the Week Monster of the Week is a good system that is mostly based on, like, here's Earth, there's a couple monsters. I created an entire world of my own that brings D&D and forces it into Monster of the Week because I like that. That's, again, where I came from. But I like what you've been doing recently with that, bringing the onus of the role play onto the players in terms of world building and creation, because you've created a very nice framework for, like, what Magnamar looks like and what the shadows feel like under Magnamar. And so when you give us a moment to describe what something we see, it's very difficult to go out of the way and like create something just horribly against what you're thinking the city looks like, because you've done a very good job at creating that framework. And I think that that's something along the lines that I've been learning from Monster of the Week and these other games, that, like, you have to create a framework. A Monster of the Week calls it a consistent mythology. And if your mythology is consistent, your players know how to play in that mythology, and they can build and create and delve into it in their own way, which is what you do great.
I love that. No, Thomas, thank you. And you are the king of the backhanded compliment, and this is what I think I love having. I love having you on stream because a little bit of healthy conflict is good. And
I don't even know it was backhanded about that. I thought it was just a good compliment.
I'll tell you what that. No, I know. The last part was, but Phantom Robert, wearing your grognard status proudly doesn't mean you can't like new things. I thought, and maybe someone needs to educate, I thought that's literally what grognard meant, that you did not embrace new things, that you were so set in your ways that you did. So somebody like Google grognard, post it in the chat and tell me where I'm wrong, because I thought that's what that meant.
It just means an old soldier.
Is that all? It's so
just
old
straight
soldier?
up means old
Is
soldier.
that what that is? Oh, Patrick, that's why. Okay, thank you. See, so much like GS, which is Gesh. Yes, so I need to have this mea culpa moment. You go through life, and just like your kids say elephant or spaghetti, and then you have to correct them over time.
Paschetti.
I love language and words. You get that a lot in chat. People like commenting on things I say, which I don't even think about. But you cannot go through life without messing some up sometimes. And Gius is how I always said it, and it's Gesh. Grognard, I always thought meant like an old dude that was stuck in his ways, kind of a semi-Luddite, but apparently that's utterly wrong. So thank you for teaching me. Love it. All right.
It's actually a Napoleonic word, just by the way.
It is So tell me about that. So Napoleonic typically is referencing Napoleon's height and syndromes that were associated. But he was also a great military warrior.
If it is capitalized, it's a soldier of the Imperial Guard that was created by Napoleon in 1804.
All right, so that now I'm feeling bad about it again. Like, you're like an older soldier. I was kind of feeling that.
You're running a cycle really fast there.
This is not
okay.
Not okay. Okay. All right, Thomas. Here's where you insulted me. I'm sorry, y'all didn't tune in for this, but I love this every time Thomas is in. You said what I've done recently. I have not just pulled players into roleplay recently. Now, I have been more conscious about one thing over the past, by recent, I'd say year, and I want to talk about that tonight. Evelyn, let's go to you. We'll come back to Thomas in a second. I'm not shutting you off, my friend. Give us your sort of overall thought on this, and then let's jump into this idea of how you bring players into the role play more than just giving them the platform as a DM, how you really pull them in.
Overall thought on what specifically? Just the idea of like role play, or
no. As I said, how you bring the players in, how you connect them to the game as a DM, and draw them into the game.
Well, I think, one of the biggest things is just like finding, figuring out on the most basic level at what point where you kind of can make those connections with your players, like come to them to where they're at, and that helps like them as a basis to start making those connections. Find the ways that they think best, find the things that entice them, find the things that draw them into the story, and it can be different from player to player, so you can find these different ways of connecting things to build the overall story that meets these different players where they are. For some players that's pulling at specific descriptive information like that they just connect to more, or dropping bits of backstory things that they can latch onto, and that overall it's just kind of, like I said, meeting them where they are, finding the things that is what is going to help them make connections initially. Because if I try as a DM to relate or make the connections the way I would necessarily from a player standpoint, it's not going to necessarily work for every single player. So it's just understanding your players before you even get started at the table, and knowing what is going to catch their attention.
No, that's well said. So meeting the players where they're at, that's a big part of DMing. And you always have to recognize your players might have had a bad day. They might have something they want to focus on, a part of their character. So I'm golly, this music is going up and down. No, it's so dynamic. Like parts of it are,
Crescendo.
yeah, exactly. And let me chill this. Holy crud, I've got it so low. There we go. That sounds good. All right, so meeting your players where they're at is important. And I was saying I wish I would have had this be a 3-hour session now, because I have so many topics to dive into. This always happens to me. I jump into a stream and I think, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't have enough. And then I get into it. I'm like, no, this. So we will do a follow-up to this tonight because there is a lot of content. Let's come back to the ever-impudent Thomas. And you said what I have done lately. And I think I know what you mean, but talk about what you've seen to bring the players in. Thomas, I'm punching at you, but please know it's in love. Like I just think you're awesome, and you're my friend. So, thank you, Redbeard. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. Hey, miss seeing you guys. We miss you too. Casey Redbeard is one of our OG viewers. Do I still have his? Oh, I do.
I'm certain you do.
I do. It's right here.
Our mascot.
This mascot was part of, like, he's been with us for almost 2 years now. And the Redbeard pirate is Casey's mascot. So, you know, when you're here with Blue Box and our family, if you stay with us, we remember you. And back to Thomas now. What have I done?
So you asked what was the thing that you're kind of doing recently. And I really like this, and this is something that other people in your games have started to adopt as well, and it's tell me something you see or tell me something that's going on around you. Like, everybody give me a moment and say something that your character is doing or witnessing in the area around you. And like I mentioned earlier, because you have created a consistent mythology as a DM, that is your job, right? You describe what the world looks like to the players then interact with the world. Whenever I describe D&D to people, I always say it's like writing a book and not writing any of the characters. You create this mythology, and then the players have the ability to say, oh, I can mold this a little bit here. Like Alcott, John gave me that ability once, and Alcott noticed a person doing the daily devotion to Abadar, which is taking a scale and balancing various things on either side of it until all the things are on it and it's balanced. And that was something I had done some prior research on, really wanted to somehow bring into the game, didn't know how. And because John gave me that opportunity as a player, that was really satisfying, because I could then, within that session, when Irda went and killed that guardian to get the shield, Alcott could work in, hey, can I start following your god? Because he sounds pretty cool. And my father followed him. Like, it was all one big streamlined thing that happened in the background that we didn't even have to worry about, because having that one question that involves your players into the world lets them do so much that you can always write notes as a DM, write notes about everything your players say and do, because if you can bring it back 6 sessions later and remind them that you were paying attention, that's huge.
No,
especially little things like that.
No, well said. And Thomas, I think I came too hard. I've been told sometimes my humor falls flat, and people feel attacked. I didn't mean that at all. I love you, man. You're awesome, and I was just poking at you. Now, Evelyn, what he just talked about, help me with this, because you and I talked about this over a year, 18 months ago. I don't remember where I read it. I think it was on a Loremaster's Arcanum episode. This idea of asking the player what they see and having them describe the scene, I thought we talked about. Do you remember when that was? And
I believe that was on actually one of the articles we had pulled from previous
Dragon.
LMA. Actually, when we were talking,
so too,
I think that was part of like when we were talking about character building, and we were delving a little bit into RP, but we didn't get super in depth on that particular one. But there was a particular article we had actually pulled up that was like about tips for getting your players to like involve themselves more, or be like
right,
especially quiet players, like to get them to engage more into the session.
All right, so I'll see if I can find that, and we're going to talk about Dragon Mag 188 tonight, which is a fun thing we'd like to do here on LMA. We haven't done this in a while. We used to pull up the Dragon Magazine articles all the time, but I think these tips and tricks can apply to both players and DMs. So, Evelyn, you are always a phenomenal role player. And I think you pull from your backstory. You got a theater background. So let's pull away from the DM perspective. It's okay. Like, do you want me to go to Thomas? Because I know you got stuff. Are you okay?
You're good.
All right,
You're good.
All right, so let's pull away from the DM perspective. If you're a player, we got a lot of folks here who they're watching tonight and they play. They don't DM as often. How can you get yourself into a role play mood? Embrace your character, embody that character. Obviously, backstory, you can talk about that. But backstory, I think, seems a trope. But you can pull that in. What else can you do to really immerse yourself in your character when you role play?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and it kind of depends on, for me at least, kind of where I am in my headspace that day. That's going to help me kind of figure out what I need to do. But for me, the very first thing I do, and after I've kind of gotten an idea of what I want this character to be, is I choose a voice for them. And I'm not talking about like having to have a specific accent type of voice. I mean, actually just finding, because you don't have to be good at accents or, do voices to play D&D well, or Pathfinder, or any other tabletop RPG.
Wait, lies. If you can't do the proper accent, or if your accent wanders, as mine always does, and I start out like this, and I talk like this, then suddenly I'm like this one, and I'm but what else? This, hello, all of you, I'm so glad to have you. Whoa, and then my Monty Python, which gets mocked. You're so glad to see you here with us. So
we love all the Monty Python ladies. They're the best.
Dominic Domenico is all I will say for you Monster of the Week people.
But yeah, I mean, it's finding your character's voice and understanding and finding who they are, as like how they talk, how they move. Because I mean, a lot of the time at the table, you're not actually moving, but like if you can get a sense of what they embody, how they sit, how they interact with people before you've even started, just kind of get into that, slide into their shoes, their skin, whatever you want to say, like getting into that space, and find, because at the end of the day, when it comes to these characters, we are creating them to play them as if they're real people. They aren't, and at the moment at the table, they're not fiction. They are what we are embodying. We are living their story. We are telling their story. We are experiencing their adventure. We are, and these characters are, we play them for a reason. We play them because for some reason they are an important thing we want to explore. We want to either embody this sense of heroism, or we want to explore a side of us that we don't really understand, or just something different from who we are.
Can you pause there? Because typically, as I am, I want to talk, but you just said something I would like.
I do too.
No, but I want you to expound. Exploring a side of yourself that maybe you don't normally talk about, and how that becomes part of role play. Talk about that, please.
Well, I mean, like, there's different. Okay, for an example, Millie was very much a side of me that was a very different aspect of something that I wanted to deal with and look at, because she's very different than I am. Very outgoing, very, direct. And so I wanted to actually kind of dig into that and find, what a person like that might experience, and what their
her moment of seduction, control of Galen. That was one of my favorite roleplay moments. It was so well done and so appropriate, but so out of character for you. And so that was that. I still I think about that often. Well, not in a bad way. That's not. As a role player, I think about that often. You did that so well.
But But yeah, I mean, like characters like that are different from us, you know, good, evil, in between, you know, driven by various, you know, drives, you know, are they driven by anger? Are they greedy? Are they, you know, and all these things that might not necessarily be part of who we are every day, but something that we want to explore because it you know, D&D is a place we can do that. We can tell these stories and we can kind of dig at these things that we might not get to experience every day, because in everyday life there are consequences and you don't want to deal with those in everyday life.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
I mean, there's consequences in D&D too, but it's a little bit of a
No.
So
Going to fight
said.
a kraken is not consequences. Nothing could go wrong.
everything can go wrong.
If I could add and sort of
Yes.
add on to what you said, when you sit at a table to play a game and you sit there as yourself and you talk as yourself the entire time, you're not role playing because you're not taking on a role, even if it's just a minor change to the way you sit at the table when you are your character, or a minor change to the way you speak. It will help you to get into that mode of I'm not myself anymore, I'm another person. Mm-hmm. And you will therefore make different decisions to the way you would make them normally. Not always, and of course it's still a game. We have to gamify certain things and make certain decisions that even our character wouldn't normally make, because we're still at a table to play a game and have fun together. Right. We're not there to just run off on our own and do our own thing, because that's not what D&D is.
Right.
But what's really unique about D&D, and that's the main thing that Evelyn said, and it's such a fantastic point, is it lets you do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do, and lets you explore parts of yourself that you wouldn't normally see. Like, one thing she said that really impacted me after the podcast campaign that I do, Heart of Adventure, ended earlier this year. That character has been a part of me and has been in my head for 6 years. It was an incredible journey I took with that person who I created in my head. And he was a very important part of me. He had pieces of me that I never knew about, helped me to overcome certain things that I didn't even understand about myself. And I got genuinely very emotional on the ride home after that last session with that character, because like, you are creating another person. And like Evelyn said, treating them with that kind of respect, like a person is really, really helps you cement that role play side of it. Like, here's what I need to do with them because they need this. Like, when I'm in the headspace of Alcott, I'm in the headspace of, I have 4 days to save my family. What would I do to go out of my way to do that?
You're slightly less than 4 days now, by the way.
We get it.
Yeah.
We know the time is passing. We've got it.
But it's really great to physically change something about yourself, and then outside of the game, think about the character in a way that treats them like a regular person. And every time you get to the table, you're going to be in that headspace.
So I love that. And Thomas, something I've done. Do you know my? You probably don't. You probably should, but you probably don't. My prototypical, when I was a kid, my primary character, and I've played him since I was 12. Like, so I started when I was 8. So he's not that young, that old rather. But I started playing him, I think, when I was in my early teens, and he is my. Well, I would say he...
Did you play him in Josh's one shot that he ran?
No, but something similar.
Okay.
So guest character class. Let's start with that.
Paladin.
Of course. And then, do you know the name? Or you, Evelyn?
I don't know if I would be able to even guess the name, but Paladin's an easy guess.
Your first character?
Not my first character, but the one. So who knows what my first character was? I was 7 years old. I probably had some guy with biceps that were 7 feet tall. And
Legolas was basically my first character.
Exactly.
Of course.
We all did that. Sorry, go ahead, Evelyn.
Well, I know about Mandaralin.
Hey, you said it, Mandaralin. This is the mini I painted for him probably 14 years ago now. Mandaralin Dimbaran, he is part of the old school Forgotten Realms structure, and I imbued him with many of my what I wish I was qualities. So you can also, like, you can work out your demons, but you can also embrace and try to exemplify your better quality, what you want to be. And it was so funny to me. I was doing this when I was 12 years old. Guess what Mander Allen would always drink in a tavern?
Milk.
And then Josh created Brim. I told Josh nothing about this, and Brim only drank milk inside of taverns. So this is it's kind of a funny analog, but I think it's so important. You can work out your demons, but you can embrace your angels when you roleplay.
And to do good roleplay, I think you have to bring a part of yourself into every character, because you can't just sit at a table and do an entirely different person. You'll have no context for that roleplay. You won't know what to do in those moments of, I need to make a decision. What do I bring to the table? Because then I don't know. It makes it more difficult for me. We've talked about this before, and Terry said he almost brings none of himself into his characters when he makes them, and that feels almost impossible for me. But Terry's a horse of a different color. But I think if you're a new role player, even if you're a seasoned role player, like John is saying, be part of yourself, because you are playing the game. Like, why not, right?
I've got tons to say, but Evelyn, any comments on that? Or
No, I think for me, I have to. I mean, depending on the character, there's usually a little bit of me, at least in those characters, though sometimes not. I think that one of the things that I consider kind of like, once the backstory is written and I kind of have an idea of what my major overarching goals are for my character, is that one of the things that I begin to consider on a more detail-oriented level is the kind of what their general or not general, but specific hopes and fears and what drives them beyond just the backstory, because the backstory is the general outline of where I started, how I got to where I'm currently supposed to be in the world that we're in. But tied to that, you kind of look back and say, okay, what is my character afraid of? What does she hope for? What does she, what does she love? What does she care about? And so those are the types of things that, on a fairly regular basis, I have to, remind myself as I'm coming to the table, okay, what drives me? And not just the end goal, the big goal for each of these characters that I have, but what fills in all the spaces in between.
No, so well said.
And one thing I want to add to that I like about 5e is it nearly gamified that aspect of character creation. When you choose a background of your character, they have recommended personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws that are these things that they have you pre-write about your character that assist you in the role play. Like, one of my favorites is to write flaws, because knowing something that is wrong with your character really helps you to make those funny in the moment decisions about them. But what are their ideals? What do they seek to do? What are they bonded with? Who are the people they care about? What are some of their funny personality traits? Do they have a lisp only on S's? Do they hate the color orange with a passion? Just write something funny and random and make it into something that you can really drive into a role play and put a background to later.
All right. So let me both agree and disagree with you simultaneously. I love that about 5e, because I think it has systematized that sort of process for creating these background and narratives. It is D&D 5e, which I still play. Both of you know, let me just ask again to make sure I've hit this hard. What do I like most about D&D 5e?
Probably advantage and disadvantage.
D&D Beyond.
D&D Beyond.
I do like advantage, but I think it does systematize that sort of sense of weakness, strength. I call these training wheels.
Yes.
It's like when you put your 6-year-old on a bike and they have to learn how to ride that bike, and the training wheels help them. So wow, that sounded really, really, I didn't mean that to 5e players. I'm not saying your kids.
No, of course not. But what I think you're trying to say, and what I like about this is like, I take personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws into other games that I play, not just 5e. Because I think that they are 4 good things to keep in mind when creating a character.
And they're absolutely fantastic for one-shots or for character creation, right?
Exactly.
So it helps people. Now, I got to go back and recognize the chat here because we got so much good stuff in the chat. Cameron, good to have you in tonight. I need to make sure I have your address. I think you might have sent it to me in... Oh, that sounded bad. To send out the giveaway. I think I have it in my text, but I'm not sure I have it in Discord. So Just Plain Cameron, if you could please pop in Discord, give me your mailing address. I'll make sure we get your giveaway out. And then just be that character, Lord Forth. Hey, Mikey B, sorry I didn't see you earlier. Phantom, Robert. I consider Ashrin my greatest NPC effort ever. Because if you have an NPC that has not even appeared in almost a year, 6 months, whatever it is, and is still being talked about by your viewers, even in a hateful way, that is a home run NPC for a DM.
There was actually some conversation about Call in the group chat during
Call, I miss Call. Oh.
No, in our group chat for the Greyhawk group, we were like, man, we miss Cole.
Yeah, so DMs, make your NPCs fun too. Role play those NPCs. You know, they can add so much to a campaign, and then they riff off the players, and that makes the players feel more real too. Their characters feel more tangible when the NPCs interact with them in a way that's real. Go ahead,
Can I
Thomas.
speak to that really quick?
You can, absolutely.
When I wrote up a whole one-shot for my best friend's bachelor party that he had like 2 years ago. And I created, when I made the NPCs for them, I gave them a motivation and a role within their group of NPCs that they were in. So I knew what they were motivated by, I knew what their role was, and I gave them a full visual description. And that, as a DM, because you don't want to create a whole character sheet for every NPC you have. You will overwhelm your brain. It's physically impossible. It's not how it works. But if you do something simple like a motivation, a simple role, and a visual description, you can role play your butt off, and you can just in the moment improv, and just make sure when you do that, like I said earlier, take notes on the things you say and how the players react to the things you say, because it'll inform the NPC later on, especially if you have a party follower and NPC like Ashrin, or what was it? What was her name? She's in Fort Von Frost right now.
Also?
Tilia?
No, not Alsa. What was her name? The archer.
The teacher? No, the archer.
Tilia was the teacher. The archer was. Wait.
Shalelu.
Yeah.
Oh, we said it at the same time.
Wait, no, she was not in Fort Bound Frost. She was back all the way in Sandpoint. That's why I didn't.
Oh, she's in Sandpoint. She's in
Well,
Sandpoint. That's right.
Well,
That's right.
the last yeah.
I know. Yeah. So Shalelu has been with the party from episode 2 in that campaign.
Oh, Shalelu.
Which sometimes as a DM, you need to put into the game what's called a DM PC, which can be kind of a hateful word on NPCs sometimes, because some players don't like DMPCs because it feels like a DM just writing a story and playing in it. But if you have a DMPC to push your players in the correct direction or give them a foil of some sort, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're simply putting an NPC in just to play your own game, then you need to question why that NPC is even there.
Yes.
Because
well said. And Ashrin is deathless, Mikey B. I think. Thank you, Cameron. Give up on it. Hey, good to see you, Thomas. The chat blowing up. Thank you so much, everyone. We got some new followers tonight as well. We appreciate all of you joining us. We're just chatting about D&D here and having some fun tonight. But I have a question for you, Thomas.
Oh.
Do you own a modem?
I own a modem/router. It's sitting right behind my computer.
So we're looking at Dragon Magazine.
I love that. That's so funny.
So, Evelyn, tell people, like, I mean, I don't want to be insulting, but I'm picking on Cameron right now because she's one of our Gen Z, and she's amazing. Just playing Cameron, I'm not picking on you in a bad way. 56 mod, yes, exactly. What is Dragon Magazine?
Dragon Magazine there were actually two types of magazines. There was Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine. And Dragon Magazine has been around for a really long time. But, 40 years. So it is a resource, and you can actually, I linked the link to the particular magazine we're in currently in chat, but in an archive is a really great place to find all the old Dragon magazines if you want to look back at them, especially to like see any of these various topics that we've covered in past LMAs, because we referenced from it quite a bit. But it's full of various tips, and there's even some like character classes development.
Look right, Walden Books, which is gone now, but look what's there on the right side, which is huge in 5e now. Ravenloft. This is 1992. If you think Strahd and Ravenloft are brand new, you need to look back to 1992. This is awesome. Continue, sorry.
But yeah, there's all sorts of things inside the magazines, various tips, various creations of spells and classes, and there's they had one that there was a section where they delved into dwarves specifically, which I looked at that actually when I was building my character for Greyhawk Awakening, but all these sorts of things that are really, really cool that you can kind of reference back to sort of see the development of the history of D&D as a thing over time, and Dragon Magazine has run for a long time. You can see all the various editions also kind of make the ways things have changed through the editions of D&D. You can see that in the Dragon Magazine as well.
So well said. All right, so my 7:00 appointment canceled. Are you guys good to go 20 more minutes or so? Or
yep. All good.
Thomas, I knew you had a hard stop at some point. You're good?
No, you're good.
Okay.
7:00 is great.
All right. So I put up 188 on purpose. We've looked at this before. That's roll, not roll. And there's some good tips in here. Let's look at putting stress on the roll. And Thomas, I love to read, but let me give you the honor of reading this first paragraph here. Put stress on the roll.
All right, let me...
Hold on. I'll just link it to you so you can
No, you're fine. I can read it just fine.
Okay.
I once asked a player in one of my campaigns, why do you think they call it role-playing anyways? His answer was, because of the dice. I regret to say that he was serious. Gaming as he knew it, and as too many of us know it, is the juggling of statistics and scores for the purpose of making a powerful character. Most of us begin playing this way, and for a while it is entertaining. But as one horde of despicable monsters, so it was like cut off the monsters, and another falls to the hero swinging swords, the excitement wears off. Soon no one is interested how many 20s you roll or even how many orcs you killed that day. This is the point where most casual players quit the game, leaving only the hardcore players determined to enjoy themselves.
Right, so understanding it's ROLE, not ROLL, and I think D&D 5e has been fantastic for that. I think 5e really emphasizes the role play element of the game, which I am so glad to see. And I think groups like Critical Role have really set that standard out there where people understand it's about how you play the game, not how your dice roll, but they're connected.
Of course.
Evelyn, thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, the idea is like you have your characters, you have, and they're doing their adventures going around, and like we use the dice to help tell the story, but they are this much of the actual like storytelling, because most of the storytelling should be kind of in the way that they interact with not only each other, but the things that they're fighting or the world around them or the NPCs. The dice help make fate run a certain course, but at the end of the day, that is not the end all be all of what a role-playing game is about.
Well, we know.
What I like to say D&D is it's a collaborative storytelling game with dice to guide the play. It's not a dice game. It's a storytelling game because that's the point.
Thomas, I have a story to tell you, which we don't have time for tonight, but ask me next time we're together, which will be a couple of weeks from now, about my time in front of the Sir Optimus clubs when I was 13 years old, trying to explain D&D to a bunch of true grognards. These people were like in their 60s. This is back in like 1983. I'll tell you that story. So back to the article. There's a flip side to role-playing. Like most things, you get out of it only what you put in. If you play a shallow card, board-like character, cutout sort of character, you're far less likely to enjoy yourself as you would if you were playing a character with personality and reality about him or her. Whether you're playing an 800-year-old elven wizard or an 80-year-old human beggar, your character should be believable. Actors on stage get into character and play their parts. They step away from who they are and become who they are not, or, as we've said today, they maybe step away from who they are and imbue the character with more of who they are or more against who they are. So I think it was Robert said many of his characters are sort of antithetical to who he is, but that's still part of who you are. So I mentioned Mandaralin. He is my avatar I've played for a long time. When I was probably 14, I made a character whose name was Kizixtre Toxinamaksazi. He was a drow. His nickname was Toxin, and he was a poisonous, evil, deadly. Kizixtre Toxinamaksazi was kind of all the opposite of what I wanted to be, but still then that's part of me. It's the shadow of yourself. So it can be not who you are, but it can be an embracing of who you are or the opposite of who you are, and you want to act that out. I'll stop there and let the amazing panel here respond.
No, you're totally right. And I mean, this is something that we touched on earlier is, you know, it's hard to take yourself away from the game when you're the one playing it. And embracing that, I think, is important for getting into the role, but also understanding that your character is not you, and making different decisions than what you would make in the moment is fun. And applying that risk to it, to speak back on Monster of the Week, one thing that it says as a hunter, which are the players is what they're called, is to treat your character like a real person, because they are just a regular person. Like, they're not some big bad hero who's going to go, you know, fight a kraken. And it's scary. Like, it's not easy every single time you go out into the world and start stabbing goblins. Like, you could die at any point, and treating that like a reality helps you to inform your decisions that you make in the game, and especially the role playing you make. But
no, well said. I'm sorry for distracting with my tentacles. So really, really well done. And I think, Evelyn, as I'm watching the chat, I'm sometimes hesitant to harken back to things we've done before on LMA, but I think we have a whole new host of viewers that have not seen and are probably not going to go back and watch YouTube channel, stuff from a year ago. I think these topics are really good to cover again with a lot of our newer viewers, and I want to say thank you to those who have followed tonight. Hey, Lord Coyote, good to see you. We haven't seen you in a minute, man. Good to see you on tonight. And so we will be covering more of this topic in future sessions, and we're going to go back to some of these Dragon magazines. They're free on the Anon Archive. Have you already put that in the chat, Evelyn? Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. Anon Archive, yeah, there it is. I see it. All right, so not just that one, any of these Dragon mags. There's like 300 and something, I think. They're all available. They're free to download. And there is so much rich content you can mine. If you're a player and you want ideas for characters, there is so much. If you're a DM and you want ideas for adventures or how to DM or how to make the immersion of your game better, so much free stuff. The D&D archives, the Anon Archive for Dungeon and Dragon magazine. So Dragon tended to be more broad. You heard Evelyn mention Dungeon earlier. Dungeon tended to be more specific to adventures and dungeons. So it was more about the tactical stuff that you could get into your game. Both of those are free resources now, and this is part of why I like the old school gaming stuff, like OGL. It's free, and I do want to support content creators, but you got thousands and thousands of pages of content out there that's free that you can pull down to help you play your game or run your game as a DM. And by the way, here's a dazzling new idea for you. New gem colored D100s available from Golf Corp back in December of 1992. Here, be nice to your referee, which is your DM. Listen to the DM, stay organized, plan ahead, wait your turn. Everyone on Blue Box does that. Character stability. It's just so much fun stuff in these magazines, and they're free to peruse and pull things. And then here we go, roles. Take some of the referee's burden to speed up your game. And that's exactly what we've talked about tonight. So as we conclude, the main technique I have begun to... So I'll go back to Critical Role. I think I'll give Matt Mercer credit. It was probably happening somewhere else first, but I think the first time I really saw the tell me what it looks like or tell me what happens, I think it was Critical Role. Maybe I saw something.
Yeah, how do you want to do this?
How do you want to do this?
He asks his players when they,
Yeah, okay, good. So thank you. So I think that's the first time I saw that. And I thought, I liked as a DM being creative, and I think I do need to still keep that in my game. So I don't want to always make every kill something the characters tell me what it looks like, or how do you want to do this, or it's your choice, or all these different catchphrases. As a DM, occasionally there is satisfaction for your player when they hit, the 20 and then the 20 and the high percentile roll, or whatever you're doing for your crit system.
20/100.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and then,
I don't know who that would have happened to at any time.
Insane.
and then you as a DM sort of unfold this graphic story that swells pride in the breast of the player. And it's fun to do that. But then sharing that and putting that on the player sometimes, I think I have gotten too focused lately on tell me what it looks like. I want to reintegrate some of my DM narrative stories with the kills. So if it's like a regular, run-of-the-mill, there's 4 guards, you don't have to tell me what it looks like on every guard, right? But maybe it's the BBEG, or it's that significant moment. Then I let the player come in so it doesn't get banal or boring with the storytelling around the kills or the finishing acts. Evelyn, Thomas, react.
I think it kind of depends on your player group too for that sort of thing. Like if you have players that are really into the RP and really want to tell you how they kill something, they get excited about that. They don't get bored by, describing every single one. But on the other side of the coin, you have people who aren't as interested in and maybe having that one epic moment on that whatever is the major thing you're fighting within the dungeon or the wherever you're happening to be at the time. But and so it just kind of depends on the group, I think. Are they more RP focused, or are in combat specifically? Because I know some people that are very RP focused outside of combat but aren't as RP focused in combat. So it's finding that, like, are they as RP focused in combat as they are out, or are they, is combat, do they treat it or think of it in a different sort of manner?
Right. So Thomas, I know you want to talk, and I'm gonna let you talk, but I want to set the table with what she just said, because this is a common misconception I see, which is there's combat and there's role play. Combat and
stealing
role play.
my words, John.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, Thomas. Go ahead.
No, it's. I was gonna say it can be really, really easy to get lost in the soup of combat, because there's like, it's my turn and now I have to wait till my turn again, and I can only walk so far and hit so many times, and plus 12 and plus 6 and 2d7 or whatever. Like, it's just there's so many things going on. But like, if you take half a second to tell. Like, I swing my sword in an uppercut to try and hit them in the bottom of the jaw with the pommel, so that I can then break their guard for a moment to stab them in the chest. Or what I do with Alcott, which is I prepare verbal, somatic, and material component uses for my spells, because as a wizard, it is really easy to say, I cast magic missile, it hits these targets, or I cast shield, or I cast death. Saying I cast feels very basic every single time. If you can say Magicus Imperium and slam your staff on the ground as you pull all 5 of your fingers in and darts of force fly toward your targets, that's so much more satisfying for everyone at the table, not just yourself, including your DM, who puts in so much work to describe what each time the enemy hits, and you just sit there and say, I stabbed the person.
Yeah. Well, and the other players can visualize it more when you are describing it, because then they have the whole descriptive effect of it.
And let the dice work for you. If you roll bad, don't get discouraged by that. Story is told by the dice. Let the dice guide your role play. So failure can be entertaining. It can even be really, really interesting, especially in a very tense fight.
All right, so let's move to that topic. And again, we're going to do this again next Wednesday night, because I'll be out Sunday and Monday on travel, but I'll be back here for LMA next Wednesday. I would like both of you to come back. I want to dive even deeper into this topic. I have so many things to talk about, and I think you do too. But this idea of failure and embracing failure for roleplay, this is critical to being a role player. You can't feel like, I need my nat 20s and I need to succeed every time to feel like I'm having fun role playing. Your failures can be great role play. I've seen characters that have died. I've seen characters that have failed saving throws and embraced it. I'll give you an example, and they're not on tonight, I don't think, but I was on with Kayla, Time Lord's wife, and I played Strahd. I still have my teeth here. I won't put them on for you tonight, but I have them. And I charmed Sorrow's Tale. I forget his name, but he Sorrow's Tale is a Greyhawk streamer also. I think I got the right name. And they're on there. He embraced being charmed and pulled to Strahd's side, probably as well as I've ever seen any player take being pulled to the other side and then role play it in a way that was genuine and powerful. So you as a player, don't just think you need the shiny weapons and the big, even if you fail, if you struggle, this is what makes the story fun. I'll pause and go back to Evelyn. I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say in response to that, just like real life, our characters learn from these struggles and these failures. A lot of times you don't get as much out of succeeding as you do failing, because they learn lessons, and I think a really great example for the Heroes of Sandpoint story, the Runelord story, would be the death of Aemon and completely, running into Ixen's lair, and there was a lot of failure that happened during that, and it's it's affected the party in a significant way. It has affected the way that they look at the world. It has affected the way that they approach things, and that is a great example of how the dice help tell that story and how those failures impact things and how it makes a more interesting story. Because I think if you always succeeding, it's not going to be as much fun. You're not going to ever really.
It's the hero's struggle, right?
I mean, you need it needs to feel like it's worth fighting for, really. And if you're not having something to struggle against, are you really fighting for anything?
A very fun example of that is I built Alcott originally to be a support mage, never having a single attack spell other than shield and magic missile, which he learned, or shield, mage armor, and magic missile were his only combat spells, which he was forced to learn when he took a dueling class in college. After that, I didn't want to learn any attack spells. And then I learned how scary the world actually was. And Alcott was threatened instantly with death and the possibility of what that meant, and not being able to protect the people around him because he had this ideal in his head of what he would get to be as a wizard. And he doesn't get to be that kind of wizard anymore. He has to be a wizard who goes out and deals with the problems of the world. And that was because of the death of Solomon and the things that happened in Barl's lair and the nearly loss of Cade by getting hit in the skull with a tree limb by a giant. He couldn't do anything. And he was so frustrated by that he learned Lightning Bolt, which is such a powerful spell. that he also took a meta magic that allowed him to maximize the damage of, because he was just so tired of not being able to do anything. Learning from your failures can create really, really powerful characters that I don't just mean like on paper powerful, but like role play and emotion power. Learning from your failures is huge. And that's one thing that you'll find in Monster of the Week. If you catch us on whenever we play next, every time a player fails a roll, they gain experience, which is the literal, like, you learn from your failures. I love that. But yeah, that's what I've got to say about it.
All right, no, I love that. So let me jump in here. We're going to get ready to close off in a second, but I want to come back to Antiquitous. Alexander, you said something, my friend, you have just won the giveaway of the night, and this is something I've been saving. Let me find it here. Not that one. Oh, I took it upstairs. Rats. I have a special Ravenloft module for you, Alexander, because you said in the chat, didn't the baker get carried off by a dragon? That was Alma. Alma, the baker in our Rune Lords campaign, that was months ago. You had to really be paying attention and watching to know that. Bravo, bravo, bravo. So I will get that out to you, and you have won the giveaway. Yes, exactly. I love that so much. And then let's go back to Dirtbag Don. Don't be so hard on yourself, my friend. My cleric was already against going into a tomb, and while inside, he attempted to turn 4 undead guardians. All of them made their saves. My cleric took it as a deity disapproving of him. Oh yeah, well done. In the tomb for no good reason, and disturbing to the dead. He had a breakdown, took it hard, what he needed to do to atone. The failure changed my character in a mean. That is exactly so well said. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Yeah, Redbeard. Appreciate the sub gift to Alexander. The chat, I think I saw something out. Oh, yeah, Brian Adams. Yes, we know. Yeah, sorry. And then, let's see, my total 7 fortitude save. Evelyn, love that. Sweet, that makes up for Red Fist. Well, that's all I wanted to do. I still feel so bad. If you don't know what we're talking about, Red Fist was my barbarian character on Tim's stream. I've only played him twice on Saturday mornings over the last 6 months, and he got charmed. And as he got charmed, embracing your failure, he beat the living crap out of Alexander's character, pummeled him into unconsciousness, and then as he bled out to make sure he was dead and still in a rage, struck him in the skull with his axe and just embraced it. And I think I was inspired by Sorrow's Tale and what he did with my Strahd campaign. All right, so sorry, Alexander.
I do want to say, I think Cameron said it best in the chat. The failures make the successes feel that
thank
much
you.
more
I meant to come. Thank you.
It's like sweet and salty. You need a little bit of the opposite to make the other one feel that much better. And I think
Evelyn,
she said that very well.
Absolutely.
Evelyn, I've never talked about that before, right? That is one of my principal views as a DM. You're not against the players, but you want the players to feel that sense of good tension as a DM, because anything they get should be earned. Anything that they fight for should be a struggle. Then it feels better to them. If it's back to so the term I talked about earlier, Thomas, do you remember the term I used? Let's make a deal.
No, I don't.
Monty Hall.
Monty Hall, right? Monty Hall means, we're just all getting together as a group around a table, and as a DM, I give you whatever you want, and you just kind of traipse through the world. You slay dragons with your Vorpal blades and your Holy Avengers and your Shield Defenders and your +5 natural armor rings and all the stuff you have. That's fun for about 3 sessions, and then it's not fun anymore, because that's not what life should be like. It should be this give and take and this pull and push. That's why I think death should be a real option in the game, but also a negative consequence, but never to the intent of pushing down your players, punishing them. It's just, it's for their fun. Death, I want to say this again, death is for the players' fun. Struggle is for the players' fun. Loss, tragedy is for the players' fun. because these things, as Cameron said, and Thomas so pointedly, so thank you, Thomas, you don't enjoy the highs if you don't have the lows, and that's what D&D should be about. All right.
I was going to say,
Killing players.
some of my favorite sessions have been the really low sessions, like the points in the story, like where we're struggling and
the emotional moments between Alcott and Irva.
Some of that stuff is some of the stuff is just the most gratifying too. It's like because you got stuff going on in your own life, and sometimes you just need the catharsis, and that's the way you can really find it sometimes.
Oh, you really do.
And but also these are connections you're making with other people too. It's not just, you're making those connections with the characters, but you're also making the connections as players. And so these hard moments, these tough moments, these moments we struggle through the fight and do it together, are victorious together, are where you're making bonds, you're character to character and player to player. And so some of those times, the really fun times where you're getting drunk in the tavern and telling stories are great fun and they're exciting and you need those. But some of the best moments are the really tough, emotional, dirty, just in the mud, crying, bleeding, awesome moments.
Let's play D&D. Forget everything. I want to start a game right now. I'm so excited. Let's play D&D.
You're the one who's keeping the Kraken for me for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, this is awesome. I came in tonight tired. The game does this every time. I come in tired, busy from work, all kinds of things on my mind, and I start talking about D&D and meeting with great people, and I get excited and have fun. And I want to thank the chatters tonight. Let's go. Yes, sir, JR. Toriano, yes. All the giveaways are going out. Cameron, yes. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We still got to get our Gen Z D&D full game stream on. That's going to happen very soon. I've got some other fun things. Roll up a character and join us on Friday. Yes. Okay, Robert, good point. So, if you're watching this tonight, and we're going to raid Lord Gazumba, and so we're about to raid Jay, but if you're watching tonight and you'd like to play some D&D, thank you, Kalaki. If you'd like to play some D&D, and you're maybe unsure and don't want to be on stream, you can jump in our Friday Night Crusades on our Discord, run by Phantom NJ, Robert. We're playing Castles and Crusades, which is a very lightweight, easy to learn version of D&D. And you just jump in Discord. You don't even have to have your camera on if you don't want to. Roll up a character, no prep necessary. The DM will help you, and you can just jump in and play some D&D. And yes, that is my gateway drug. I'm trying to entice you to join this nefarious community by playing some lightweight fun D&D. Sorry, that was creepy.
One of us. That
was creepier than I meant to, like Children of the Corn. Love Dragon Magazine. Check out 188. I got so much more I want to talk about on this. And let's get ready to raid Arlo's Return. Yes. All right. So let me pull this up. As I get ready to raid Jay, I would like Evelyn and or Thomas to give the final words.
Oh, I thought you were going to have us ask the question.
Oh, no, that's still coming. That's still coming.
Okay. Go for it, Evelyn.
The final words I have given them.
It's just
there they are.
The final
Those
words.
are the final words. The final words. All right.
I'm okay with that.
Well done. I am too. All right.
I used all my fuel already. Sorry, John. I gave my best speech. I got out.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. So, as we get ready to raid Jay now, we have one question for you tonight. If you're one of the few that are still watching and you have not followed us, well, frankly, be gone. I'm shocked. Why would you
stay,
not?
Please.
I know. Please
stay.
Please follow. Please. If you followed and you have not subbed, we would love for you to sub. You can use your Amazon Prime option, and it's free. If you have not used that, if you're on Amazon Prime, you get one free sub on Twitch. Use that. Or if you're a sub whose sub is expired, and I think we have a few because we're down to about 122 subs. We've got 1,500 followers. Oh, we're at 1,495. We're going to cross 1,500 on our next stream. I didn't realize that. That's super cool.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah, if your sub is expired, please resub. Because if you haven't, I've ruined this whole thing now. We have one question for you. What are you doing? Please follow, please sub, please resub. Join us here at Blue Box as we create great D&D content, I promise you. I talked to Evelyn, I talked to Thomas before the stream. We have just begun. You don't know what's coming. Blue Box is about to blow up. Be part of it. Be part of the community. Blue Box Con next year. Join us, follow us, sub us. Rating J.
And gone.
And